So, like the video says, I'm going to be taking a look at the new Bloody Harvest Legendary. I'm not sure if this is the only one in the game, but I did happen upon a pretty decent one. It's not super great for the purposes I want it for right now, but it does seem to be pretty good, and that is the Fearmonger shotgun. So this is it right here. This is what mine looks like, at least. So we can obviously tell from aiming it down sights that it is a Hyperion. And we're going to go ahead and throw off a couple shots just so you guys can see the firing pattern. So it shoots 4 pellets that bounce in and out towards the center of a square. This does make it fairly difficult to land on targets at any sort of range. You almost have to kind of aim to the left or right a lot of the time. I have missed people point blank using this. It is a kind of sweet spot weapon. However, it deals a lot of damage. Let's take a look at one more thing before we get into the card and sort of how the damage looks and everything. I'm going to go ahead and fire it here. You're going to notice it sort of behaves like a sticky from Torg. It lands, and a few moments later, they start exploding. So let's go ahead and get into the gun itself. I'm getting some of that sweet UI lag. So this is the one that I found, the subsidized Fearmonger. Now, if you notice, mine says 501 by 8. That damage is a little low, but the pellets are doubled. So when this thing rolls, it can roll binary, and this happens to be mine. Now, if you roll binary, obviously the damage will be lower per pellet. This also means that the dot damage is lower per pellet. So another interesting thing about the damage in the dot is that when you shoot this gun... Oh, that was some weird UI lag. Okay. When you shoot, these initial pellets do not deal very much damage. Like, they deal almost nothing. The explosions are where you're going to get all of your damage from on this weapon. So you really got to land all the pellets. So... getting back into it, let's go ahead and take a peek. You can tell that it is using its, this is the default skin, as you can see down here. This is the Bloody Harvest weapon skin, so that comes on it by default. If you want to change out the weapon skin, I would recommend going with something yellow or purple. Some of the other colors don't look quite as good on it, and some of these just look bad in general, but one that I've noticed looks really great is the Deep Nebula. It just really goes with the flow of the gun, just the color patterns and everything. But we're gonna leave it as its base skin. It doesn't look too bad. I love the skin in general. Like, they did a good job. Like, the fact that it moves is just really cool. So let's get into the gun itself. 501 by 8. This is a binary. That's pretty respectable damage output. It does scale with splash, because they explode. It's sort of like a Torg. This one is a radiation. I have seen other elements. I don't know if it can roll everything or non-elemental, but I do know it can roll more than just radiation. If it's non-binary, this dot damage gets very high, and the dot chance is very respectable. So if you're looking for a decent dot weapon, this is a really great option. Now, my magazine seems high. This is, I believe, the largest magazine you can get on a shotgun. So I do take a damage down for it. We'll take a look at all the parts in a second. But we can see that the dot is pretty decent for this weapon. The damage is pretty decent. All of the rest of the stats seem pretty standard. I haven't really seen one that isn't a Terrify anointment yet. It's certainly possible, I'm sure. The only other thing that I'm not 100% sure about is how much ammo per shot this thing consumes if it isn't binary. Let's take a look at the gun parts real quick so we can take a look, and then I'm going to go just shoot a couple people with it. So we see here we have a body accessory. This seems to be legendary. It's pretty whatever. Weapon shield capacity, crit damage. It's very hard to land crits with this weapon. So if you're wanting to crit with it, pick flak. We have reload speed, meh, accuracy, meh. This is where you're getting your special effect. It has a very small splash radius, and I'm not 100% sure you're going to get more just because it's Hyperion. But maybe there's another piece that can actually give you some splash. But the grip does seem to be binary. I have seen ones that are non-binary. This one does lower your damage by quite a bit. It doesn't show the pellet increase, but it is there, I promise. I take the, well, I didn't take, but I have the big magazine, so I lose 10% of my damage there. My scope doesn't do anything. It's elemental. The final note, Hyperion Shield. Now, this thing, as far as I can tell, seems to be a normal Hyperion Shield, which surprised me because the red text says, I can't control their fear, only my own. I was really hoping that there was some way that you could terrify yourself, and since it was Hyperion, maybe that was how, but let me run up here and get hit by, you know, whatever spawns here. So I don't feel like I'm getting terrified when they shoot me. I'll try to... He's taking forever. So that was my whole Hyperion shield. It did not terrify me at all. I see no borders around me. So the only thing I can think is maybe, you know, if it's self-damage, I've tried that a little bit. It's hard without killing myself. So that is not the Terrify. That is a radiation proc I've given myself. This thing can kill you. Oh, she just... Okay. For this test... or for this example, I am just in TVHM. I'm not in Mayhem mode. So keep in mind, like, I'm probably going to seem really strong. Now, I did just finish doing a video for the green tree. So that's really all I have right now. So just keep in mind, like, I'm not really boosting this thing like crazy high. It's just I'm in TVHM. So let's go ahead and poke at this kid. I'm gonna pick up Phase Grass real quick just so we can see it a little bit easier. I'm gonna lift him up. I'm gonna pop all 4 in his chest. So notice it took a little time for that to tick off, and now he's taking the dot damage. So very respectable for a single shot. This thing is not meant to be shot, you know, once. It doesn't have a very slow fire rate for what it is. I'm just doing it slowly so you guys can see. So I'll go ahead and pump a couple into somebody. Now, like, this is where we kind of see the sweet spot. I've landed a lot of pellets on her, even though I didn't have a great chance to. So you got to kind of figure out your range with it. It doesn't seem to be too unforgiving. It'll stick to enemies a lot of the time when it maybe kind of shouldn't, from what I've noticed. But at other times, you know, I see nothing. Oh, there's some great lag. So, yeah, it's a pretty decent weapon. If you can be flak, for instance, and get some crits, Amara can obviously scale this well with elemental and splash damage. Zane, once again, you know, he's okay with it, no better than someone else. And then Moze can obviously do some crazy things with the explosions because it is a splash weapon. So all that being said, it's a decent weapon. It's not the craziest thing I've ever seen. It kind of functions similarly to other legendaries that I have seen. And anything real far away, you're not going to be able to reliably get hits. So there's a lot of enemies I see over there. If they're against like a backdrop, or they're slow or running directly at you, sure, you can light them up a bit. But if you're trying to, like this guy right here, there's very little chance I actually hit him with this gun. So it is very much a short to short mid-range weapon. And this is what I was looking for. I wanted to get one test off on a little hardened badass for the video. So this seems to be about the sweet spot right here. Keep in mind, radiation is terrible versus armor. And I can actually switch, and I can kind of show you. Okay, here we go. I've got a Wester gun in my second slot. This is. Oh, there's 2 badasses. Great. So that's about how quick the Wester gun is removing their shields. And keep in mind, this is not. I've not designed a build around this. Alright, so let's switch back. Do I need to reload? I do. Let's see if we can't find a sweet spot. I can't even see, so that seems pretty unlikely. Oh, I got something back there. That's actually pretty funny. Golly, the splash that Badass is like put onto you is ridiculous. Any sort of melee enemy is also going to be very dangerous with this if they run at you and you tag them, so just keep that in mind. So I think that that pretty much concludes it for this. If you guys want to see anything else about this weapon, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye.